The technology needs to solve business problems, not the other way around.
If it works for you, it works.
Code is a waste, right? So if you can solve the same problem without any technology at all, this is always better than using something.
There was a famous question for recruiters, right? If you have too many recruiters, ask them, like, put in your bio like multiple names of technology and Pokemons and ask the recruiter which one is a technology and which one is Pokemon, right? Hi, my name is Marcin and welcome in Product Odyssey, the series where we explore how to build products fundamentally better. Today with me is Adrian, tech lead in Vasco.
Hi.
And we have Maciej, the CTO in Vasco.
Hello.
And today we'll be talking about a specific question, which is very simple and hard to answer. And it is how to select the right technology at the right moment. So let's begin. When we are thinking about selecting the right technology, there are always two stories that came to my mind. One is that the CEO is flying in an airplane in a business class reading a newspaper, and he sees this kind of beautiful ad, which is saying the new .NET platform version 5. And he thinks immediately, okay, it's the newest thing, it's cool, I need to have it. He takes a phone when he lands and calls his company saying, like, we need to have it. And then we go with the full implementation, right? The newest is the best. And then the second story where you have the CTO, which is saying that, by the way, there is a new Python version that we need to upgrade to, but let's not do that because it's unstable. It's 1 year already on the market, but I don't believe it's stable. So let's keep it on the level of known technology. Those are those two examples which are probably very, very funny to refer to. But there is this kind of like a question of, is there any balance or right decision of should I choose the latest technology or the most stable, or maybe there is other? Any guess on that?
Yeah, there is basically one single rule that you should follow, is that the technology needs to solve the business problems and not the other way around, right? So we don't use the technology for the sake of using technology. Rather, we need to pick the technology to solve the problem that our organization need to face, to deliver new feature or to support new clients and new markets. So in your story, maybe it's not on an airplane, but I'm familiar with many stories about selling technology or products on a golf course when one CEO talks to another, and we got a new product, and you should use it, and because there are some kind of social connections, the product is being used and incorporated into the other company, and then these poor developers on the bottom need to actually implement this, even though it doesn't make sense. Everyone knows that, at least up to some level, knows that this is simply bullshit, but we need to implement this. This is the order, so everyone is following it and going through it, right? So, of course, this is not the optimal way to solve problems in your company, but quite often this is how some companies, especially the larger ones, are doing.
And going further with this thought of selecting the right technology is you also need to ask yourself, like, at what stage we are. So whether you are starting a new project, or are you trying to improve on what you already have, right? So when you're starting a new project, then you can experiment more and have and use some latest technologies, because if you already have some product, and it might be very hard to upgrade to, or even to switch from one technology to the other. So this is basically like the basis for this.
Yeah, we're talking about two stages, and that's correct situation, right? Either it's a new project, it's easier probably, there is more to choose, but it's easier to start and select the right technology. And then there is the situation that I'm having already a product company that is already set it up, and we need to think about the evolution. But first, the question, let's start with this ideal case. So I'm starting a product development, and there is so many on the market, the new technologies, AI, the ever-changing market. How one can actually find out, first stay on top of that and find out which technology to select?
Mm-hmm. I assume that you probably have like a team that you are planning to build to build with the product, right? So they should already be familiar with something, and they also will have their preferences. And I believe this is a strong base point to take into account, right? Like what are we feeling comfortable with, and then and this is like a very, very important factor.
Okay, you're mentioning experience and feeling comfortable. Is it the one and the same thing, or is it I have experience but I'm comfortable to search for learning something new?
Well, they come in pair, but I'm not sure if this is the same thing.
They are not always aligned, right? You can have experience with a technology and hate it at the same time. So you can be knowledgeable enough to know that you don't want to use this technology, and this is also a valid case, right?
Okay, so this is like a first lens. I'm looking from what I have and what basic team structure I have and what experience, right? And then if they have experience in one technology, this is maybe one seed. Also, if I see that they are willing to go for the new technology and learn it, then probably this is the other factor, right?
Yeah. On the other hand, maybe you're trying to build something new, and sometimes your developers won't even know how to approach this. So they will have to do some kind of research, right, on this topic, and this is also like a good place to start, like from scratch, right? And then you need all those. You need to find the right solution, right? So how do we get there from point zero, right?
One thing then maybe it's especially from your perspective as a team member, the question from my side is there is so many new technologies and there is so little time to do that, right? In most of the cases we work on a project, we deliver. When and how you efficiently find out what is the latest technology, evaluate the new trends, and stay on top of that? Any hints here?
Yeah. Of course, there are many sites, or maybe let me put it this way: there are sites for busy people, right, like CTOs, right? They are called like the technology radars, where they aggregate various technologies from many sectors. Actually, it's not only bound to one industry and one technology branch, and it groups technologies and methodologies into like assess, hold, etc. So you have like a stable set of solutions that are gaining popularity. You have the ones that are just started gaining popularity but are not battle tested, so you should be careful about this, right? So you probably don't want to go with unchecked a solution for your mainstream product, for example, right? You
Right.
might want to do this with like a R&D product, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or unless you are not in the market that you need to be like the first, right? Because then you don't wait for followers. And you need to be there.
It
with
kind
the risks.
of it depends on the risk that you are willing to take, right?
Mhm.
And on the other hand, looking at the hold segment, this is an indicator for you to think about. Maybe you are starting to have a technology debt, right? So this is the other side of the spectrum.
Yeah. So generally speaking, as someone in a senior technical position, you should have some kind of overview of what is actually happening on the technological market, right? So you need to be familiar enough to know where either the technology you are already using is getting legacy, and maybe it's time to good moment to start thinking about starting doing something with it. So maybe not right away, but you should maybe plan some actions in the future regarding this, or whether something new and flashy is showing up, and maybe it's a good moment for you to assess whether this is something is just a fad or something that actually you need to consider, because this is something that could give you some kind of business advantage, right?
Okay. And any kind of concrete hints that I would have as a CTO, that if my team is coming up with a new idea, like, hey, we've seen the new platform, we need to adopt that, or the new technology, how can I approach that, verify it? Is it a good idea or not?
I think this is the best case scenario where your teams actually give you some kind of ideas of where to move forward, right? Assuming, of course, that they really love their job, love the product you're building, so they hope for the best, like they cheer for the product, so they are looking actively to give you the best advice. They are enthusiastic about the new features and the new market, the new features that are coming in the tech industry. So they're following the newest trends. And at the same time, they have the overview of the product, of the roadmap, where your product is going to. So their recommendations actually are on the point. So it's not only them wanting to test some new tech out because they want to play with this new framework, but rather they want to incorporate this into their daily work because they know that it will make them more productive. So this is the best case scenario where you actually don't need to follow the tech radars. You don't need to follow the news so strictly on your own, because you can trust your teams that when something really interesting came up, they will come to you and tell you about this, right? And this is the moment when you need to assess. And this is the moment when, depending on your role, on your available time, on how important the change is, you should look into and make your own judgment regarding it.
You've mentioned something interesting, and that's the assumption that the team will come up with the idea. So I agree that if the world is changing so fast, and you cannot have this responsibility only on the C-level or the senior level, you need to have a team because there is so many things changing. But that assumes that everybody, and that's a question to you, Adrian, is it so that this is common that every developer wants to learn new technology or wants to try new technology?
I mean, it of course varies, right? Some people will spam you with millions of links of new technologies that are coming, and some will follow people all the time. But there are also just I don't know, let's say regular developers, I would say, that just not as passionate, right? Because it happens. Not everybody is the same passionate or even like a technology freak, right?
Right.
So, but to put it simply, it's great to have people on board that are those technology, that they spread the new technologies in your company, that kind of show others that there are new technologies. And from my experience, it usually balances out. So there are people that wanna hear out those new technologies, and you need and there are people that are likely to share their findings, right?
Yeah, and I think it's quite important for you as a C-level to actually create a safe space and environment where those people that actually are willing to try new things out, they can do it safely, so they can experiment, and then and also they can fail with their experiments, right? And they know that when the experiment failed, the technology is actually not that great, it's just a hype, a fad, then it's fine. We're just moving to the next one. Nothing bad actually happens, right? You want to do it, test it early, rather than after the implementation and shipping the product to the market.
Of course, right?
And it's also worth mentioning that it's a very good approach to create this special, or maybe not special, but to make it a safe space for everybody to share their thoughts and to share their favorite tools and new tech that they want to try out, because you definitely don't want to create a hostile environment that punishes you for bringing in a new thing, right, to the company, because otherwise you will just
nobody will come up with anything new, right?
Yeah, and you'll be just left behind with a ton of technology debt, right? Like tools come and go, so.
Yeah, still there is also other part of the picture, right? It's I would not be afraid of actually stopping people from coming up with ideas, but there is this rather other risk that everybody will try to push the latest and greatest technology, even with the cost of delivering functionality, right? And this is also a pattern that you can see, right? So it's other way around.
Yeah, definitely. Like, of course, a hype is very much connected with this. And people sometimes get bored if they are moving from one project to another and they are again using the same technology, or even the technology that was, I don't know, popular back in like a few years ago, right? And sometimes people get bored after one project. So they play with one technology and they want to switch to another. Like I know these kind of people, but they are also like needed, right? It's not a bad habit. I mean, okay, I don't want to say it's either a good or bad habit, but certainly you need to keep. You kind of cannot allow everything to be incorporated, right?
Right. You need to prioritize. There is always the priority. You cannot always go with everything, right? And not make a decision and balance.
Yeah. And I could say it depends, right?
Yeah.
But usually it goes like this, that I like to choose, basically create a funnel, right? Everybody, or rather we take all the options available, and then we try to kind of make the best one out of them.
Oh, then we are on something that I wanted to navigate to, because I'm trying to connect what we have mentioned. So I need to have a team in practical approach. If I'm a C-level executive, team is coming up with the idea, or the board is saying we need to do a new project, and I'm seeing 5 new technologies that I can select. I need to have a team which can help me to evaluate that, and they need to be excited. And the best case scenario, they will experiment before and have experience in this technology. At least they scratch the surface. I don't want to have like experimenting on every existing technology there is. Therefore, I'm connecting that with the idea of I need to push the team to be aware of what kind of directions we are going to, and create a space where I can invest in that. But then practical approach that you have started to mention is, so I have this question coming from the board, or I'm starting a new project or product, and they are saying to me, I need to select this technology. I need to go with this AI, this approach. How I can talk with a team to make a sane decision, or the informed decision of what is good, what is bad, where I should go with.
Okay, so well, I would say that there are a few let's call them health indicators of the technologies, right? Like the first one that comes to mind is the popularity and how well it is incorporated into the other popular projects, etc. Right? What's the movement?
Right.
So the popularity, of course. And before I also mentioned the whether our people know these technologies and whether they like it or not.
Or they are willing to actually experiment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And I also want to add to this popularity, because what that means, if something is popular, then that means it probably has a good support. And if it has good support, then it probably means that it will be maintained for a while, right? And you don't create software that lasts a month, but probably a years, right?
Yeah, so it's not only popularity, but also like a maintenance and other dimensions of the same issue. Whether there is some kind of big entity backing up the project, right? Is this project mature enough, or this is still like a proof of concept or alpha? What are the adoption on the market, current adoption, whether it's still adopting or maybe it's in a phase where the adoption is already slowing down. It still could be popular, but if adoption is slowing down, maybe it's also worth looking into why it's happening, right? So this is basically a multi-dimension decision that needs to be, and many factors needs to be considered when making such. So the C-level or CTO or any senior technical people need to be this guard of the sanity of those propositions, right? So this is the downside of recruiting good people, actually. So if you hire good, ambitious developers, those are the ones that are very proactive. So they're coming up with new ideas. Those are the ones that will actually want to try new things out. So the good, proactive developers are susceptible to the hype cycle, actually. So I think everyone is familiar with the Gartner hype cycle, right? So the curve where the new technology is being hyped, then basically it's plummet down. Everyone hates the
technology adoption curve, yeah.
Yeah. And then there is this plateau of productivity where only the products, the teams that actually need this technology, that is suitable for, actually use them, right? So safe bet is to actually pick the technologies from this plateau of productivity. But if you want to be on the bleeding edge, or you want to be with your product with the latest tech innovations, it's not something that you can afford to do, only to pick the most stable and battle-tested technologies. So you need to have a way to assess the new thing, whether this is just a fad, just a hype, or this is something that can actually help you. And this comes with an experience. You can also consult other people in this area, whether this is something that have a future, or of course no one can basically predict
right
in all cases.
That's actually I would like to push for that, because the thing that you're mentioning is that there is this kind of like, I can build a table and with lots of attributes like adoption, like hype, is it stable, is it new, do I have experience? And I get that, but it sounds like a little bit like, if I will get this table right, there will be this kind of like one glowing selected best solution that, okay, I need to go with this technology. I don't believe that this is this kind of scenario, that there will be always one. There will be multiple, and as you're mentioning, it's a guess. Any ways of how I can make this decision, or any approach how I can test it, verify it maybe?
Coming back to the beginning, the technology needs to solve business problems, not the other way around.
Correct.
So this is the mantra that we need to like repeat and repeat for the whole time. But yeah, this is simply true. So if this new technology actually helps you solve some business problem that you are facing, then fine, maybe it's worth giving a shot. But if this is just your best developer just loving this new technology and they want to trade out, make use of it, and it actually does not solve any kind of actual issue that you want to solve at the moment, maybe this is not the best time to implement this, and this is hard to reject this kind of ideas. But still, like the code is a waste, right? So if you can achieve the same, you can solve the same problem without any technology at all, this is always better than using something. So in the assessing process is quite important to make sure that you actually need this technology in the first place.
Yeah, so sometimes like I have this unpopular opinion, I think, that because at first I said that, yeah, there are those health indicators of the technologies, that they are well adopted, etc., that they are declining, etc., etc. But you need to remember that at the very end, it's what matters is if it works for you, right?
Exactly,
Because maybe you are in a niche that you're working in, and maybe you will be the only one that uses this single package from an open source project. And maybe you will believe in it so much that you will be the trailblazer, and you will make this popular, right? Because like someone has to do it, right? So the key point here is if it works for you, it works, right? But you need to monitor it and just
Right.
don't depend only on the external feedback, right? It also needs to come from you.
I think this depends on the company culture, the size, but mostly culture, whether you are actually willing to experiment and risk with the new tech to gain a competitive advantage, or rather you want to play it safe, and it's fine that
I would challenge that, because of course it's a culture thing. If I'm in the company that wants to take a risk, and that will be a big impact. But also this is connected with what we have discussed before. It could be the environment situation. This is the first factor that we are putting into this. As a startup, I need to be the first one. Therefore, I need to take a risk. So it's not the situation that I can evaluate and take the best technology because everybody else will have it. Or I am in the system that I need to be future-proof, and I'm building something that will hit in market and needs to be there and need to be supported, or maybe cost-efficient. So this is one factor that I can see that I need to know it's connected to solving a business problem. No, but I need to know what I want to do with that. We have also talked about this prerequisite that, of course, if I want to go into the fresh new technology, I need to be aware of that, and I need to probably have some experience. So I need to have the place for developers to experiment. But again, I'm really coming back to the fact that it's still unclear for me that even if I will clarify that, okay, I'm not the one that needs to try out the latest thing. So we have a time. In these tables, I'm building a product that technology is the secondary problem here. I don't need to have the latest one. And I have a culture that we can try out the new things. I can believe that I believe that this kind of table will construct in a way that I will have 7 technologies that I can select from. Of course, you're saying that I need to check what kind of business problem it solves. 3 of them solves in some way. One for example, the performance is the factor. Second one will be the cost. Still, it will be not a yes/no answer that this table tells me this is the technology. So am I wrong here? Is it so that it's maybe there is this one answer, or if it's not, how I can go with 7 to select from?
It's rarely the case that there is only one technology that solves your problem.
Right. So how to make a decision then?
There are many ways to actually pick this technology. If you're familiar with one tech and the other one is something completely new to you, most often than not, picking the technology that you are familiar with or your teams are familiar with are just simply better, because the new things, the things that we don't understand also tend to be like the shiny new things that we want to try out. We are most often aware of the advantages of the new tech, but we are not aware yet of the disadvantage the new tech has, right?
Mm-hmm.
So a good way to actually evaluate, we have a table with like 7 solutions that we need, and we need to pick one of them. If you have the time, you have the comfort of doing so, we can, for example, do some kind of internal hackathons. Let the one team implement one solution, other one the other one, or basically we can organize this in many different forms, but just let the people go and play. Usually after even some really short time, but not discussing it, but rather trying with the hands-on approach, developers quickly will evaluate whether this is the tech that they want to work with, or rather this is simply rubbish because it looks nice, but if I actually start doing something, it's missing this, or the developer experience is rubbish, or basically any kind of reason that it's not visible from the helicopter view, but it's really completely clear from the roots.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. doing a hackathon, that could be one thing. Having this kind of like a patterns, I can believe, like building experiments and learning inside of the existing projects, like focusing on technical depth in a different way. Like, so it's not selecting altogether different technology, but at least trying out the new modules, focusing on trying to deal with the current solution in a better way. Is it something that can help? And if there is any other, if you look from the perspective of the development team?
I would also add that sometimes the technology has been already tested within the company.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it really happens that maybe it's yet another something, and a good thing is to keep it noted somewhere, so somebody is not reinventing the wheel, right? And maybe that doesn't respond directly to your question, but I don't believe, like, if you are not following someone else's decision that this is the right tool to use, then you need to kind of test it yourself, right? So, like, I don't see any other way, because other way you are just risking things, right? And
that's probably my direction. I'm trying to verify and ask you if there is any kind of maybe existing approach, because my assumption is that if I cannot make a sane decision without trying it first, probably I can try it out in any way, like even go with it sounds crazy, but doing a prototype, and depends on how much time and effort you have, but going with one technology, one solution, building 2 MVPs, 3 MVPs, it's pretty fast right now to do anything with a new technology.
It's basically like a extended hackathon,
exactly.
right?
Yeah.
Right? Creating new MVPs or proof of concepts. The farther you go, the more confidence you will have. But this actually costs you a lot of capacity, lots of manpower that you can actually use on delivery. If you have a product on the market and not a startup that's actually evaluating new things for a greenfield project, those people that need to do the research, they can be also very useful in delivering the business features that you need to do at the moment, right? So an alternative for it could be a consultancy that are actually familiar with the tech that you are evaluating. They already have the hands-on experience, and you can basically get their experience to get to the result quicker. Of course, this is not the same as evaluating this in-house, but this is basically the next best thing. For example, in our case, because we have several ongoing projects at the same time, we tend to evaluate new technologies in-house, regardless of the project. So when this need arises on any one of them, we actually already have the answers, right? This is like the economics of scale, that we have our own internal hackathons. We evaluate new technology. We know what suits our developers and what is basically a hype that will go away. And we can share this kind of knowledge with our customers, so they don't need to, it's not that costly for them to evaluate new things, because we do it at the same time for many projects.
Right. You can always also go for your network of partners if you have, right? And the case where we are, for example, having a problem on selecting the solution for dynamic pricing, you can always go for the company who have tried out already and learn it, learn their mistakes and pros cons, and then make a sane decision or informed decision around, is this kind of limitation is good for us, or the benefit of this outgrows the complications that come with that. So that's definitely, so we have mentioned the trying it out. We have mentioned that I can go for a consultant to help me out. I can try it out. But then there is this one aspect that always stays in my head. And this is the fact that the decision is always done on the highest level, or in most of the cases by the senior, preferably the CTO. And there is always this kind of approach that if I'm a CTO and I'm familiar with 2 technologies, not the third one, and team is coming and saying, I need to go with the third technology, there will be always this kind of push of, can I go with towards technology that I'm not familiar with? How much hands-on should I be? How much I need to be aware of that? Is it a risk or not? And how to mitigate that? It's a loaded question, but the concept is, As a CTO, should I be expert in this technology that I'm going in, or can I rely on the team?
I think you don't need to be, as a CTO, you don't need to be an expert in this technology, but you should be aware enough, familiar enough with the technology to understand the decisions that are being made over there, right? Not only to pick whether this or this technology, but you need to be familiar with this technology enough because this is just the first of many decisions coming after, right? So once we pick, for example, our language, right, we decide to go with the JavaScript, then we need to use something for a backend, right? Whether we should use Node or Ban or something else. What packet manager? What tool for the monorepo? What tool for the for connecting backend and frontend, and so on and so on. There are many decisions that needs to be made over there that are affecting one and another. You don't need to be competent enough to take to do all of those decisions. This is why you hire like tech leads, architects, and other people that are actually hands-on enough to be competent enough to make those decisions. But you should be familiar enough with it to know whether this is fitting the bigger picture. So this, at least the names of the technologies that are throwing at you should not be new to you, right? You don't need to have the hands-on experience with all of them, but you should be at least familiar enough to have your own gut feeling about them. It's
okay, that's a bare minimum for me. I need to learn the names, right? Not be surprised by that this is a technology or a Pokemon.
The meaning after the names are usually not enough.
There was a famous question for recruiters, right? If you have too many recruiters, ask them, like, put in your bio like multiple names of technology and Pokemons, and ask the recruiter which one is a technology and which one is Pokemon, right? We should do the same for CTO then, right?
Yeah, if your developers coming up with packages that are actually Pokemon names, then you should
go with Blizzard.
Yes. You should evaluate whether
your CTO will probably know both, like both Pokemons and
that's a perfect
kind of CTOs. Yeah.
That's a perfect blend, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't need to be aware of that, right? But then it means that I need to rely on the team, and that's perfect segue to ask if this is a common skill set that the developers, they need to sell the idea, right? We are talking about almost a consultancy. If I'm coming to a team from a C-level, I need to understand, is it for me? Can you sell me this technology? Is it common that developers are keen to do it and they can do it good, or they are aware of that?
I mean, first thing is that you probably want to delegate if you have a lot of work to do, right? Because if you don't delegate, then it's either that you can do it on your own, right? Or you need to delegate because you cannot do it on your own. People learn, right? Even if if you delegate to someone who is doing it for the first time in their life, like you can always ping pong with each other, right?
Right.
You can ask more questions. It doesn't have to be. You can iterate on this, right? If you need more info, then just ask for more details, for more insight.
That means that you need to have a time, that you need to have a capacity. That means probably that if we are having a structure inside of the organization, that we need to rely on the fact that those people, those developers, senior developers, need to have a time to experiment and be able to actually learn, which means that there will be not one FTE on the project, right? And they need to share the knowledge. So that's the concept of like senior role, which is contributing on the higher level. But then also there is the aspect of selling. So I can imagine the situation that you are, as a developer, you are perfectly familiar with the new technology. You have made a hackathon and say like, this is the best solution for known problem that I know this is a business problem. But then I will show you one slide saying it's obvious. It should be this. And you have the CTO which is entering and saying, I don't believe it, right? One slide is not selling that. So I need to probably have this kind of like approach to sell. What is the benefit? What is the con? What can be the impact? It's entering the specific skill set of I need to translate, explain it to you so you can make the same decision. it's not common in the developer world, right?
I mean, when you make a decision, you always need to back it somehow, right? You need arguments, you need the pros and cons, and when you finally manage to find that one technology out of many, and you are going to present it to your CEO, and you are saying like this is the best one. Besides the fact that, well, he should probably believe you, right? Because
Let's put trust aside.
yeah, because of the trust. But you should always like have a list of pros and cons, and the main motivation what caused you to choose it, right? Like what were the criteria for you to choose it? Like what were you actually testing on those hackathons, right? Like, is it the velocity of working with it? Is it did you choose it because it's easier to maintain it in the future? Like very different things happen.
Yeah, it's a
every
simple
decision
one, yeah.
comes with a cost, right? So this is the thing that you need to also point out. So it's either a typical cost, we need like to pay for the software or hire new developers to implement this, or some kind of opportunity cost that because we are going with this approach, then we cannot follow up a different idea. So when explaining this to other C-levels, or generally everyone in the management space, they usually think in this kind of categories that it's never free, right? For the developers, from their standpoint, they want to try the new things, they want to try the new shiny thing.
Oh yeah.
But for the one that actually need to sign under the decision, usually they look from the standpoint of well, this will cost us X, right? Either regular cost, money cost, or development hours, or some other opportunity cost that's going to happen when we make this decision. So the best way to convince those people is to actually show that the advantages from this decision outweighs the cost that's going to happen, right? So this is the biggest selling factor from my experience.
Okay. So then moving like doing a full circle and coming back to this kind of like initial idea and start of our conversation, what could be the anti-patterns of this kind of decision-making process? Or do you have any experience stories like how this decision can be done wrong with the disaster effects?
And I don't have a story, but actually, if the outcome is okay, then
either you survive or not, right? If you don't survive, the decision was bad.
So there is no single way to do it bad. So even the case that we started with, right, the selling software on the golf course, this may not be the bad decision after all, right? So basically, we got like two ways to come up with the new softwares, either like from the grassroots, bottom up, or from the top down, right? So of course we discussed this in this episode. I think we all agree that the bottom up approach is usually better, assuming that you have the resources and everything to actually make the good decisions and people that will come up with the good ideas. But sometimes the top down decisions approach is also valid, and well, those CTOs on the golf courses, they are not like bad people or people that are not knowledgeable enough to make good decisions. They would not be where they are if they made bad decisions down the road, right?
I would argue with that, but yeah, okay. Let's put that aside.
So what I mean is sometimes there actually are some reasons that cannot be comprehended easily by the development team, that implementing this kind of technology makes sense in the bigger picture, bigger picture, right? Let's say that implementing this technology would help us to gain investors in the next round. or will this may be some kind of preparation for the merger that nobody is aware of yet, but we need to do it because we discussed on this golf course that they're going to be mergers sometimes down the road, and we already want to align those tech stacks a little bit, right? So it's hard to judge whether the decision is right or not if you don't have the full visibility of the issue.
Yeah, and it's not always like black and white, right? It's always gray. So like a life.
Yeah, there is no silver
being
bullet.
so dark, but
No.
but putting it into an example, like sometimes about this merger that Maciek mentioned. So one company merges with another, and their tech stack is different, and they force their tech stack, for example, because their team is staying and yours is going, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes this happens, and while you also like merge products, because this also is a possibility, sometimes you wanna just remove the old one, right, and go with the better one, and sometimes it's not simple because they differ. They differ with the functionalities, and you end up with supporting the old one and extending the new one, and like whether it's whether it was a good decision to kind of merge it or not.
It's a secondary then, yeah.
You will either never know it or
okay.
you will know it after a long time.
So there is what you're saying is that there is a hope, right? There is no bet and right solution, and nobody will actually learn about it very soon unless it's a disaster.
Yeah, in the end, you adapt and you need to ship.
Correct. To be serious, yes, this is the idea, right? You need to adapt. There is always a chance to make a course correction. Go with the idea of actually having the best decision at a given moment with the team and the bottom up. But that's maybe to summarize, right? If you have 3 hints, like a practical takeaways from this discussion to any C-level, any CTO or any product person, what would that be?
So the first and foremost, you need to pick the technology for the problem and not the other way around. So you need to be aware of the thing that you actually want to solve. The other takeaway is to have those enthusiastic, proactive people that will basically come up with the new technology trends. They will come up to you with them to create safe space for them to experiment and come up with the ideas. And keep up to date with the latest developments, so you are familiar enough to judge whether their ideas are good or not.
Adrian?
So if you want to keep up to date with the latest technologies, and there might be like lots of them, then you use the sites that are aggregating those technologies, and you can read like the brief of it and see what's on top, and
Okay. For me, definitely there will be 2 points, and the bonus one, for sure, rely on the team and make sure that it's a bottom-up decision, and make space and the prerequisite for that the team is experimenting and knowing that. Second is there is never a silver bullet to select. You need to know the trade-offs, and you need to know that this decision has a pros and cons there. And then the bonus one, if you are a CTO, it's good that you know the names of the technology and Pokemon names, because then you are better off. But that concludes our discussion, probably one of many that we'll have. For now, that's all. Thank you guys for the discussion. It was very productive. And for everybody, thank you for watching this episode. If you have any feedback, ideas for new discussions, feel free to comment, to reach us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and other channels. For now, that's all. Thank you very much. Take care and see you on the next episode.